I love non-English language thrillers and mysteries. And brand new for 2026, we've got Netflix's Swedish limited series Land of Sin, or Synden. It's gritty, dark, and not overly long. So does the story satisfy? An odd investigator and her new colleague are looking into the death of a teenager, which leads to uncovering a dark generational family feud in the countryside. I'd like to say this is like the Hatfield McCoys, but that would involve different families. The animosity contained in this story mainly resides within one large dysfunctional family tree. So following in the likes of Department Q or even House MD, this features a main character who is gruff and abrasive, someone who rubs just about everybody completely the wrong way, but who is partnered with a more congenial and calm colleague to help soften all of those rough edges. Krista Kussinen plays Danny, a detective who's got her own set of personal issues that aren't making her life any easier. And when she gets a call from a family that she knows out in the country, she finds herself intertwined in this massive family drama. The limited series is 5 episodes that are each around 40-ish minutes, so this isn't going to take long at all to binge. A lot of what we watch is Danny brooding while she sometimes questions people, only to then abruptly shut down and walk out of a conversation mid-thought. And it's not like she's all of a sudden received like this insight that breaks open the case. She's just angry and doesn't have time for all the infighting that's happening with the involved families. Most of the characters we're introduced to are shady and give off these huge "you don't belong here" vibes, like a mountain family deep in the Appalachians that you just need to completely avoid. They see themselves as a bunch of good old boys, and while they're not toothless or presumably inbred, they're also a terrifying group who would bury you and then go help in the search to find you. The intrigue for the show mainly sits within the fact that none of the family wants to, or maybe is allowed to, speak with the cops, making Danny's work that much harder. But it also keeps us wondering what the massive secrets are and why they'd work so hard to keep them. And while this is effective for the story, once we get the reveal, it's very lackluster. Like, the build-up promised way more than what was being obscured for us. Despite that wonkiness for the plot, there is a character who kept me on my toes because his behaviors and mannerisms were so unpredictable and sometimes counterintuitive. Ellis, who's played by Peter Gampman, he is a tough old farmer. Very family first and foremost. And we don't talk to cops, and we deal with things in our own way. While his demeanor is hardened and a bit scary, there are many moments where he is the complete opposite, showcasing this temperament that is sweet and caring. Someone compassionate who listens intently and then provides wise advice. It was almost like Jekyll and Hyde, except there wasn't a hugely violent monster that we saw take over at points. He's ruthless and intimidating when needed, but also tender at other times. And this was an excellent performance by Gammon. The nuance that he created for the character was such a standout in a sea of mainly standard and one-dimensional personas. And this isn't to say that the writing didn't create some obvious moments for his character, but at least the performance was riveting, with depth that just made him captivating to watch. I appreciated that while this series contains a lot of grit and darkness, most of what we watch take place, it wasn't black and white, but rather just a large variety of grays. The characters struggle with accepting these ambiguities, leading to situations that can feel as though justice wasn't served. But in reality, sort of justice was provided, just not necessarily one that fits within the traditional good and bad of law enforcement. And while this may not be as satisfying to some, I found the realism to be more engaging, especially given the circumstances that involved the meting out of justice. So despite the central story conflict being less than thrilling, the gloom that encompasses the characters is sufficiently depressing and dark in the best way. A short episode count combined with brief runtimes creates a fast-paced story cadence that doesn't outstay its welcome. Peter Gampman is a standout on this, providing surprising subtlety and depth for his character, who could have been rote and standard fare, but instead produces contrasting traits that confound our assumptions. This isn't the best or even most clever crime thriller, but it's also very far from the worst. There's no sex or nudity, a lot of profanity, and then some brutal violence. I give Land of Sin 3 out of 5 couches. Okay, do you have any favorite non-English language thrillers? My all-time favorite is Dark, but let me know yours in the comments below. If you enjoyed this review, please give it a like. Also, don't forget to share and subscribe. I'm Chris. This is Movies and Munchies. Thanks for couching with me.